Hi guys, and welcome to the Unquendor Guitars workshop for a bit of a different video. In this video we're going to say goodbye to my trusty old bandsaw. I just bought the Laguna 1412 bandsaw, and as a bonus I added a drum sander as well. So in this video I'm going to unbox and install the new equipment. New bandsaw.
And another one.
Drum-sander. New bandsaw. Right, now the biggest challenge will be getting all this stuff into the workshop. Tools and hardware. Whoa! This is heavy. Let's put it aside right here, I think. All right. How are we going to do this? New bandsaw. Let's try and get it out. Wow. Yeah. So yeah, we've managed to get the bandsaw into the workshop, and we have all the parts laid out on the bench, and everything had to be moved to the back of the workshop, so I have some space available here to do the assembly on the floor. So the first thing I have to do is assemble the base, starting with these rubber feet. I've got the base assembled, and now according to the manual, in order for me to put the main body of the bandsaw onto this base, I have to lay it on its back and fill it out with some wooden blocks, so I can easily fit the base underneath the bandsaw. And then, yeah, I think I have to get my wife again to help me stand it upright. And now with the base assembled, it's time to put it upright. and it's upright. And next thing to do is mount the table onto the saw, but as you can see it's in plastic and covered in grease. So I'm going to carefully unpack it and degrease it and get it ready to be mounted on the bandsaw. I've got the blade in and I did a rough initial setup. I made sure the table is nice and square to the blade. The blade is tensioned right, is tracking right on the wheels, and I think I did a good enough job on setting up these guides, these ceramic guides, and that's a new thing for me. So I think I did it correctly according to a video on YouTube and the manual, and now I think it's time to do a first test cut and do some minor adjustments afterwards. Wow! The braking is insane, and look at the quality of the cut, how easy it cut through this black limba and the surface. And this is just the cheaper blade that came with the machine, and it was recommended to me by the supplier to use this blade to set up the machine, do some test cuts, and then move over to some more expensive blades. But yeah, in comparison to my previous machine, this makes all the difference. After having done a couple of freehand test cuts, and before I open the drum sander and start assembling the drum sander, I want to give you my initial thoughts on the Laguna 1412 bandsaw. There are a couple of things I really like and a couple of things I think are a bit of a design mistake on this bandsaw. First of all, the things I really like about this bandsaw and a couple of features that made me decide to purchase this one over a Record Power Saber 350L. First of all is the guide blocks, the guide system on the Laguna bandsaw. It's very easy to set up. I also love the ease of adjusting the cut height. It's real smooth. It stays in place fairly well without locking, but there's a knob on the back that you can lock it in place. Real solid, no movement back or forward to speak of, so I really like that one. Of course, the power of this bandsaw, it's a beast, and yeah, it's a real noticeable difference with my old bandsaw and this one. And same goes for the braking action. I have a bit of a love-hate relation already with the brake system, because although it's very nice that the bandsaw stops almost immediately after turning it off, the downside is turning the wheels by hand to track the blade or to do some adjustments is very hard, because it's very hard to turn the machine over by hand. I haven't used the fence, but I think the fence system, it looks okay, it looks solid, so I think I'm going to be happy with that as well. And yeah, overall a nice machine. There are, however, some downsides to this machine. Starting with the fact that you have to open both doors at once because they're connected with a strip, and the only reason they did that is to cheap out on an extra safety switch inside the top cabinet, so to say. There's only a switch in the bottom cabinet, and you can see, although I loosened both knobs already, the doors still won't open, and that's because there's a bit of a fence deal down here. It's a bracket that helps with dust extraction, and it gets in the way. And although I've opened it, it still gets in the way because there's the knob for the table adjustment that's also in the way of opening the door easily. Now I know you don't have to open the doors that frequent, but yeah, if you're doing, for example, multiple necks like me, and I use different size blades for different jobs, sometimes I have to frequently switch blades, and then this is going to be a pain. Besides the doors, there's another issue I have with this bandsaw, and that's dust collection. During the test cuts, I didn't turn on the dust extraction because it's very noisy and it's already pretty late, and I didn't want to disturb my neighbors tonight. So I didn't run my dust extraction for just a couple of test cuts, and apparently there's no way for the dust to go if you don't have dust extraction running. It just falls in the lower cabinet, it goes into the wheel, into the safety switch that's down there. It's on the bottom of the little cabinet down there, collecting dust if you don't have your dust extraction running. So that's a major downside, and it might be a consideration for you whether or not the Laguna bandsaw is something for you to purchase. Other than that, I think it's a well-designed quality machine, at least for the money. This is, I think, the heaviest and the most powerful machine I can get on this power supply, and also a reasonable size for my workshop. So yeah, those are my initial thoughts, and I'm sure to comment on this machine or do a separate follow-up video once I'm more familiar with this machine and use it for several other jobs, like cutting a guitar body and neck, cutting a veneer, cutting a thin plate for control cavity covers, you name it. So yeah, once I'm more familiar with this machine, I'll make sure to let you guys know my final verdict on the Laguna 1412 bandsaw. Now let's continue with the other tool I had on my wish list for a long time, and I'm very glad I was finally able to purchase one, and that's of course the Drum-sander. My wife's not here, so I have to carry these heavy boxes by myself. So what's in the box? Of course, the main Drum-sander unit as a assembly, of course a manual, and some mounting hardware. I can see they supplied a wrench, which they didn't do for the bandsaw, but here they supplied a wrench, some Allen keys, and an adjustment knob, I think, for this handle up here. And of course this heavy box, I think this is the frame the whole unit sits on. So let me start by assembling that frame first. The stand for the sander comes with these adjustable feet to go on the end of each leg to adjust the sander nice and level when you have it in a stationary setup. However, after noticing how heavy this machine is, and I will most likely need to move the sander around when I don't need it, I'm going to put this frame on some casters. But unfortunately I don't have any casters right now, so tomorrow morning, early tomorrow, I'm going to get me some casters and finish the assembly of this drum sander. So we're here nice and early, time to get some casters. We have some casters. Casters are on, let's put her on all fours. Yeah, the frame moves around easily on the four casters, and now it's time to try and see if I can lift the machine onto the frame by myself. Currently there's no one around to help me, so either I'm able to do it by myself or I'll have to wait until there's someone here to help me. And it's heavy. Bit easier than I expected, to be honest. When it's sitting on the floor as a dead weight, it seemed a lot heavier than it actually is. But still, I recommend, if you can, doing it with some help. Now let's attach it to the frame before it crashes down onto the floor again. High quality tools are supplied. Yep. Now with the drum sander attached to the frame, I can tighten all the bolts of the frame itself, and then I think it's almost time to give the sander a try. Now let's do a test run. Of course, dust extraction, and I'm going to use a piece of black limba, an offcut from a body, and as you can see, the drum sander, the 1632, is wide enough for my body blanks. Perfect. And here's our test piece, nicely sanded. Let's also try a small piece of quilted maple. It's just a cut-off I had laying around. Looks great, I think, and I think it's going to save me a lot of time. And here we have it, my two new Laguna machines. Of course, the 1412 bandsaw and the 1632 Supermax Drum-sander. I think both are a welcome addition or replacement to my workshop, and they will not only save me a whole lot of time and frustration for when setting up the bandsaw in this case, but they also will help improve my accuracy, and of course the drum sander will speed up my process so much. I know I used my spindle sander trick to thickness sand small parts like fretboards and control cavity covers, but yeah, having a drum sander I can just feed multiple fretboards through in one go. And this being wide enough to do entire tops and bodies will save me hours, maybe days of work. So yeah, I'm very excited to start using this in my process. And that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you liked it, and you can let me know as always by leaving a like. And if you have any questions, suggestions and comments, yeah, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm going to play around with my new toys some more and set them up to absolute perfection. And of course, I hope to see you all in the next video. But until then, have a nice week.